Up with KREM begins now.
7 o'clock on your Tuesday morning, and it's being called V-Day in the United Kingdom.
It's the beginning of the end of this pandemic.
This morning, we will introduce you to the first person who received Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine. We'll also share how much longer Americans will have to wait for authorization.
We're live at the Airway Heights Correction Center where there's an outbreak of coronavirus cases. We have details on this outbreak and another in Spokane County.
And we've all joked this year about the quarantine baby boom, but experts say now is when it would be a reality.
We just have not felt the brunt of that yet.
Coming up, how the latest baby boom affects different age groups.
And we've got a little bit of cloud cover this morning. I'm going to let you know what that does for our temperatures and what's to come.
But we are beginning this morning with breaking news as the Washington Post reports that Pfizer has told the Trump administration it cannot provide substantial additional doses of its coronavirus vaccine until the summer. That delay has been caused by other countries rushing to buy the vaccine. This means Americans may not be able to be vaccinated as quickly as the administration had previously hoped. This morning, U.S. regulators posted a positive review of the Pfizer vaccine data, but the FDA will still have to convene to debate the science publicly before the vaccine is authorized. That debate will happen this Thursday. And thank you for joining us this morning here on Up with KREM. I'm Joshua Robinson. Hopeful news today out of the United Kingdom this morning. You can see the smile even behind the mask. Taking a look at your screen right now as we all meet Margaret Keenan, a 90-year-old grandmother from England and the first person to receive the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine.
Oh, it was fine. It was fine. I wasn't nervous at all. It was really good, yeah.
The UK began vaccinating the country with 800,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, becoming the first Western country to start such a program. The first people to get the shot are people in senior living homes.
I thought it was a joke, to tell you the truth, to start with. I couldn't believe it, but I'm happy it's happened. And now I've done it, and hopefully it'll help other people to come along and do as I did, try and do the best to get rid of this terrible thing. Yes.
And this morning, BBC News is also reporting that the second person vaccinated was 81-year-old William Shakespeare. Believe it or not, Shakespeare said that he was very pleased to be given the jab, and he also said that the hospital staff had been wonderful. Here in the U.S., the Food and Drug Administration may authorize the Pfizer vaccine as early as Thursday, and today President Trump is set to host a White House summit to promote the rapid development of COVID-19 vaccines. President-elect Joe Biden was not invited to that summit. A report from the New York Times says the Trump administration passed up the opportunity to buy more doses of the Pfizer vaccine beyond the initial 100 million. That decision could delay the delivery of that second batch now until June. But the Trump administration says the report is false and points to 5 other candidates, including Moderna's, which the FDA could authorize later this month. A lot to cover this morning, Jeremy. I know all eyes right now on the UK and how we follow in their track, but yeah, it's big news.
It's super big news, and with just 2 days away from our public debate about the vaccine, we're right behind them, following on their tails.
Of course, this is news we will continue to follow here at KREM, and you can watch us every morning here on Up with KREM as we'll bring you the latest. But let's check in outside. What's going on, Jeremy?
Oh, got a little bit of cloud cover as we kick things off this morning. And that cloud cover is keeping us a little bit warmer across much of the inland northwest. And that's reducing fog in many locations. But temperatures, how about that one for you? Already up to 36 here in Spokane, Coeur d'Alene at 28, Sandpoint 32, Moses Lake 32, Moscow, Lewiston 41 degrees already. Those clouds are going to stick around through much of the day, so expect our temperatures to remain pretty uniform here in Spokane, but there is that quick shot of moisture moving through overnight. Most of it falls as rain because, as you already know, temperatures are just a bit too warm. That rain doesn't arrive until later on tonight, early tomorrow morning. So for now, we're dry and temperatures climb. We are back up near 40 degrees later on this afternoon, Joshua.
We'll check in with you just a few minutes for a closer look at that full forecast, Jeremy. A coronavirus outbreak at the Airway Heights Correction Center is now hundreds of cases. Let's check in with Nicole Hernandez, who joins us live from Airway Heights with more on what we know this morning. Good morning, Nicole.
Yeah, good morning, Joshua. So right now the Airway Heights Correction Center has 541 cases of coronavirus, and that's cases since the pandemic began. But we know that a lot of those cases came recently with their most recent outbreak of cases. And this is something that we know a good amount about right now. So the one thing that we know is that all of these cases are from between inmates and staff, and this is one of the biggest cases loads in the entire Department of Corrections for all of Washington State. So Airway Heights Correction Center has the most cases of all of those DOC places across the state. So on top of it being between staff and inmates, we also know that a number of is up from 64, which is a huge jump. A spokesperson from the Department of Corrections told KREM they have room for 30 inmates at a regional care facility run by Airway Heights Correction Center. As of yesterday, there were 21 people in that facility. The facility also said staff has been required to wear masks since April 10th. Now, this is not the only outbreak that we're keeping track of here. Geiger Community Correction Center also has 52 cases among their inmates. The Spokane County Detention Services, which oversees Geiger Community Correction Center, is working with the Spokane Regional Health District to come up with a plan. They started new COVID-19 rules, including that all staff is tested weekly, and inmates that have not already tested positive for COVID-19 have to be tested twice a week. Geiger set up both an isolation floor and a quarantine area for their inmates, and of course they are continuing the social distancing rules that they've been following. Spokane County says specifically at the Geiger Correction Center that they have seen the people with positive cases really have mild to no symptoms for their cases, but that they're still being extra careful because particularly there they have a good amount of inmates that will be leaving and being released soon into the community, so they're being extra careful. Live in Spokane, I'm Nicole Hernandez.
Time now for your morning rush. More news in less time. Inchelium is now under a curfew until further notice because of severe COVID-19 outbreaks. That is according to the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation. And the curfew went into effect immediately, restricting non-essential travel between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. All residents and visitors must remain indoors. Now, as of yesterday morning, there are more than 1.2 million people using the Washington COVID Exposure Notification app. The State Department of Health reports that they have issued some verification codes, and that means that some users have tested positive. But since that step is voluntary, the department says they don't know how many codes exactly have been entered. The department also says the verification codes are not tied to individuals, so they're not tracking where they were issued.
Alonso or Louis Diaz, here he comes, Diaz, Svensson! I can't even find the words, but Seattle's found their goal!
The Seattle Sounders headed back to the MLS Cup. The Sounders scored the game-winning goal in the 4th minute of stoppage time. They were originally down 2-0, but they scored all 3 of their goals in the final 20 minutes of the game. The Sounders will now take on the Columbus Crew as they try to win their 2nd straight MLS Cup championship. Just 8 days into opening for the season, the Hutton Settlements Christmas Tree Farm is sold out. Each year, the Children's Home runs their tree farm to fundraise support for children in need of a long-term alternative home. They posted on Facebook, quote, "While we had no idea what to expect this year, we are completely blown away by our community's support once again." They say they've never run out of trees before the 3-week mark, and that they're working to have more trees for next year. That's your morning rush. More news in less time. Let us know what's happening in your neighborhood by using the hashtag #UpWithKREM on social media. Well, today is the safe harbor deadline for state electors, and the deadline is a federal law that requires Congress to recognize the electors for states that have resolved election disputes. Now, states don't have to meet the safe harbor deadline to have their electors counted, but for the states that do, as we mentioned, those votes will be solidified today. This deadline falls 6 days before the Electoral College meets on December 14th to formally cast votes for the president based on the popular votes in each state. Congress then meets January 6th to count the electoral votes and to officially certify the president and vice presidential winner. Joe Biden is on track to defeat Donald Trump 306 to 232 in the Electoral College based on the certification of election results by states across the country. Biden is set to be inaugurated on January 20th. Officials in Georgia are on Monday recertified the results of its presidential election. The state's second recount was requested by the Trump campaign, and once again, it showed President-elect Biden winning by a margin of roughly 12,000 votes. President Trump continues to dispute the outcome of the election and is blaming the loss on Georgia's Republican governor and Secretary of State. Let's look locally now. A new movie today has a local tie to the Inland Northwest.
Don't go traveling backwards. We all make mistakes. Just leave it that way.
Coming up, we'll let you know where you can stream it in just a few minutes.
And we got to talk about your weather. We're heading into the time of year with the earliest sunsets. Only lasts a few days, but colder days are still to come. I'll let you know why.